one of the things I learned, and I'm still learning it and always passing it on to others, with dealing with addictions or dealing with our past life before we become saved. It doesn't necessarily even have to be an addiction, but some things will just still show up every now and again and would make you feel so bad and so guilty and sometimes even feel condemned and things like that. But accountability has always been a helpful tool for me. The way it came to my spirit then was that the light, the chains of the devil, or the chains of our past, they are strongest where the light is dimmest. In other words, if you don't expose it, if you keep it bottled, then the chains will remain strong. But the moment you come to a point where you feel like, if there's a proverb actually in where I come from, where they will say, your inability to talk is the genesis of your misfortune. That's the best way I can interpret it. It sounds actually worse if I say it in our language. But basically, they are saying your ability to open up and actually begin to talk about what you're going through is equally the genesis of your breakthrough out of it, really. This is not just talking to anybody. This is talking to people, especially someone that has journeyed through what you're journeying through, or someone that you... Yes?
Sorry to cut you short. It's hard.
It's hard to do what? To share.
Like to open up with, like for people
of course,
like...
I'm not belittling, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm making us see how the benefits out. And this hardness that you're talking about is actually just the initial thing. You see, once you say it to one person, what happens in your heart is, of course, we know that even when you're saying it and you are believing that the person will hold it in strict confidence, we have told people things that we heard somewhere else. And that's actually why we don't want to open up to start with, because he's saying you like that. But actually, the knowing that once someone knows, even mentally knowing that once someone knows, the whole world knows, is a good thing in itself.
Really?
The person will eventually go and tell people, but because it frees you from lying to yourself, it frees you from living in deception, it frees you from living with a confused identity about yourself. All of a sudden, you realize that this is me. I'm a work in progress. I need help. And the thing is, that's why I said it's not just about telling anybody. If you've spotted the right people to speak to, someone that is spiritually matured, someone that probably has journeyed through or is journeying through what you're going through, what you would find on the other side of telling someone is grace, is empathy, is knowing that even these people as well have got their stories. They are equally works in progress. It shatters this view of you having the picture of some perfect man of God or woman of God. There is no perfect man of God or woman of God anywhere. All of us are a bundle of works in progress. And that work will never be perfected till we see our Lord and Savior face to face. That's given. But many people, I mean, as simple and as clear as that is, most believers don't believe it because the devil keeps lying to them that what they are going through is unique to them. And that's right. What you're going through is not unique to you. You're not the only one that is messed up in one way or the other. Every single one of us are messed up in different ways. Yours may be this, mine may be that. It doesn't have to be the same, but it doesn't change the fact that we are both not perfect. We are both not perfect. And that's the beauty of Christianity, really. That's the beauty of fellowship. That's the beauty of being part of a Christian community where you can actually be vulnerable with one another, where you can, like James was writing, confess your faults to one another. It's a scriptural injunction. It's not just some philosophical thing that somebody cooked up. It's because as far back as the 1st century, it was working for them. And the Holy Spirit has thought it wise to document that for us as well for our edification. So I have seen the other side of it. I've seen the other side of how liberating it can be, how freeing it can be, how resourceful it can be, really. Where I don't see the whole limitation of, if I tell him, then they will start looking at me and saying, I'm like this, I'm like that. I've gone past that, and I'm hoping that many people will go past that and embrace that risk. It's really a good. There was a lady. Sorry, I'm beginning to rant again. But there's a lady that I had a chat with this week, I've known her since as far back as 2012, 2013-ish, as a young teenager. But she's all her life, like not all her life, but since I've known her till now, it's been one cycle of issues around the same thing again and again. And if there is anything I appreciate in her journey so far, is the fact that, and she was still acknowledging it in the voice notes she sent to me this last few days, the fact that she knows that there is someone she can talk to. As messed up as she feels, she still knows that there is someone that can understand. Even though she feels bad that it's always when there is a problem that she's reaching out to me. But I don't mind that, because I've also got my own issues. I'm also processing things and journeying through stuff. So I don't mind her coming to me when she has got something to say, even though she's yet to be able to figure it all out. So that is one thing that gives her respite in the midst of the whole chaos. Because I was telling her, many people have not gone through half of what they've gone through and they've killed themselves. Yet she's still standing, not because she's super strong, but part of her support system is the fact that the devil is not able to make a predicament have full devastating effect on her life, because she has a support system somewhere, which is just speaking it out that this is what I've done this time around. And I'm just fed up. I've tried this one, I've tried that one, and I'm just fed up. You know, just being able to open up like that, and then God gives the person on the other side of the story an encouraging word for you, a word of knowledge, a word of wisdom, or sometimes a correction or a stern warning. Face it, you've passed this level, you can do this, you can beat this, you know, whatever that would look like, but it makes you stronger and it makes you, and I just thought to chip that in as well. So yeah.
That makes sense.
I think we've had a good time already, and we can as well.
If you find the right person, sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
If you find the right person to talk to, as you said, Pastor, good. Because there are some people you might think this is the right person to talk to.
Yeah.
Or you might say, God led you to talk to this person. But personally, you feel, how will I say, judged yourself, like you judge yourself within. Even if the person is not actually judging you, or like the way the lady is talking to you, you might not respond in any, how will I say, like, in any bad form, or you're welcoming her, right? But she herself, like, I'm not talking about, I'm just using an example.
Yeah, sure.
Like sometimes personally you feel judged, even if you believe there is no condemnation in Christ, but there's sometimes you feel judged. It's just
You mean condemned?
You just condemn yourself.
You feel guilty, you feel condemned, you feel judged. But again, like
as much as you kind of always say those words, you believe in those words as well. It just keeps coming sometimes.
That's reality for very many of us. And I think we were saying, was it 2 meetings ago, about the thoughts in our mind and how that judgment that you are feeling, that you are judging yourself, it's often it's not you judging you, it's the devil condemning you, it's the accuser of the brethren. That's his title, that's his job description. And it comes to do it through your thoughts or through yourself. It's like you gave him permission to allow you to judge yourself and allow you to condemn yourself. But again, in reaching out, that's where you find this cushioning effect, if you will, for that pain that you are feeling that is judgmental. So yes, the person on the other end of the line may not condemn you, may not speak harshly against you, while you are still feeling what you're feeling, you're still hearing the voices in your head tell you, Ife, you shouldn't have done that, or whatever that sounds like. But that's the voice that you want to deal with. That voice is not correct. That voice is not right. But it takes oftentimes more than us to be able to overpower that voice. If it's something we could do ourselves, I mean, one of the most frequent and most predictable failures that I've had in my Christian work are those times that I will set a New Year resolution and say, this particular sin or that particular sin, I don't want to do it this year. if I'm able to last January 1, that's good. But I'm almost too sure that January 2, I've done it again. Because it's the same predictable cycle until I started understanding these things and confiding in people that are able to help me to see, it's not about setting New Year resolutions. This is, you didn't get to this point where you needed to be setting New Year resolutions because you set a New Year resolution to sin. It's a progressive thing that has accumulated to a point. So seeing the big picture, seeing the whole picture, and it's because I'm seeing this through other people's eyes and through other people's stories and their experiences that helps me to be able to see this better, that I'm not alone in this battle. And so even if I want to condemn myself, I have other voices speaking to me to counter that condemnation. That, see, Lagbaja is also like this and is still doing this exploit for God. It gives you hope and knowing that even what you are going through now can then become a resource for someone else. Because God often does that a lot. It takes us through things that are messy or permits us to go through things that are messy so that when other messed up people are coming through that street, your story can be a source of help, a source of encouragement to them. So I'm not saying this thing is easy. It's not, to be honest. It's not even easy to identify the right person to talk to, because in all this talking to people, you can as well be speaking to the wrong person. Either not make any difference or approach things in a very wrong way. So there's also wisdom, and it's not easy to identify them, to be honest. But one easy way for me the way I spotted the few people I've confided in is because they've also been generous with sharing their stories. They've been generous with not hiding their true identity, to say, this is what I've gone through. I mean, such people are people that you can readily talk to and they will relate with what you are going through because they've gone through it. But I'm not just going to someone because the person knows lots of Bible verses and can tie things together without any experience in the things that I'm going through. At the end of the day, all the Bible knowledge can become messed up when it starts coming across to me. They can actually become the sword that will tear me down or tear down my heart. So it's not an easy waters to navigate, but with God's help, with sincerity, I believe God will order our steps into finding the right sources of help and enjoying the bliss that is there.
Amen. Pastor, please. So is it correct to say that following the Bible verse that says, should we continue to sin so that grace may abound? Yeah. So is it correct to say, even while you're going through this addiction and you're trying to use the word of God to chase all those negative thoughts and everything, can you say that God knows your inner heart, or can you really say that you're not actually trying to sin so that grace may abound? Because I'm sorry to say, I've gone through that part, and I'm still going through that part. I'm just saying, there's sometimes that it keeps coming will you continue to sin so that grace may abound? And I'm like, come on, no. I feel I'm not sinning. I'm not doing all these things so that grace may abound. Sometimes you find yourself in that situation. You tell yourself, no, there's sometimes the Holy Spirit tells you, don't go there, or that kind of thing. And you find yourself sometimes not following those directions. And you find yourself then saying, I'm very sorry, Daddy, please forgive me, that kind of thing. And will you not say that I believe, I'm praying, I'm asking for forgiveness, and I know I'm going to change, but I believe I'm not sinning so that grace may abound, and God understands me. Does that change that word, you still sinning so that grace may abound? I don't know how to ask the question. I
think you phrased it well. I don't know if anybody wants to say something about that before. What I would do is take us back to that passage to read it, Romans 6, 1 to 2 or 3, and then do exegesis on it. But if anybody wants to talk about that, let's go for it first. I know, go on.
I remember one time I was listening to Joseph Prince. No, you said you listened to Joseph Prince, and he said, he was preaching, and he said, even when you're addicted to smoking and you want to stop, while you're drawing in the smoke, just keep saying to yourself, I am the righteousness of God.
Yeah.
It might not make sense at the time you're saying it, but subconsciously you're reaffirming the son of who you are. And I think gradually it would play out. So to answer your first question, to partially answer, I would say you're not sinning. It's an addiction in a sense. It's something that you have no control over, but you're asking God to help you find control. So at the time when you're sleeping and you don't have that control, you can say, like, I don't think you're sinning and saying the grace of God will abound in a sense, unless you're doing it intentionally. I think it's the motive, isn't it, Kola? The motive would also count.
Yeah, that's why I said I was going to lead us back to that passage.
Okay.
Again,
Sorry.
is that okay?
Yeah, so I'll
Okay.
mute myself.
Oftentimes I don't know why, but somehow we remember that phrase a lot. Shall we sin and say grace shall abound? And forget what is on the other end of that verse. So I want us to say it together. And it's Romans chapter 6, verse 1. I will read 1 and 2. The whole chapter is rich. And if I don't worry, we'll soon get there in our current series. And I believe this will be more dealt with. But just for now, I'll read verse 1 and 2 from the Passion Translation. So Paul asks, so what do we do then? Do we persist in sin so that God's kindness and grace will increase? Then the response he gave was, what a terrible thought. KJV says, God forbid, what a terrible thought. We have died to sin once and for all, as a dead man passes away from this life. So how could we live under sin's rule any longer? In other words, just like Anu was saying now, by the way, what you said about Joseph Prince is actually a testimony that someone wrote to the ministry to share of how he got freed from his smoking addiction. And the principle is the same, is what is happening here. The point is, whatever it is that you are doing now as a born-again Christian, to use the evangelical term, or someone that has given his life to Christ, that is ungodly or that is still coming from your past life, as I was trying to explain 2 meetings ago, it is no longer you that is doing it. If you keep reading that chapter down, you discover that Paul's prescription was consider yourself dead to sin. In other words, consider that this is not me. This is not the real me doing this. God that saved me, that redeemed me, that adopted me, that justified me, already knows that my new self, my regenerated self, is incapable of doing what is wrong. Your renewed self can't sin, really. But we still sin because we are in this flesh and blood. So the point is, the battle that is going on now is a battle between your flesh and your renewed spirit. And so the renewed spirit is intact, is sinless, it can't. 1 John 3:9, he that is born of God, speaking of that part of you that God saved, cannot sin because the seed of God dwells in him. He says he cannot because he's born of God. So whatever it is that we are doing now, it's not the real you, if I could use that phrase. It's not the saved you that is doing it. It's the part of you that is still being controlled from the residues of your past life, your thoughts that needs to be renewed, your mind, your will, your emotions, and the desires of this flesh, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. All those things are the kind of things we're going to have to continue to deal with till we see Jesus. That in itself is a liberating thought. The fact that you know that what is happening now, it limits, it quenches the power of the condemnation that comes after what you've done that is making you feel bad. Because again, you continue to train yourself to remember the fact that this is not me. This is not Joseph Kolawole doing this. The Joseph Kolawole that Jesus Christ died for, that's raised from death, is not able to do this. And I want that part of me to be the part of me that wins in this battle. I want that part of me to be the part of me that people would see. I want that part of me to be the part that this flesh that is still loving sin will submit to. That's the deal. That's what we want to spend the rest of our lives doing. And we do that as we continue to make friends with God's word, as we continue to prioritize fellowshipping with people, as we continue to confide in one another, confess our faults to one another, pray for one another, as we continue to serve in whatever unit you're serving in church, as you continue to love on your neighbors and be a good person to your fellow students or whatever that looks like in your context, that's what we will continue to do. And as we are doing that, we'll continue to rise and fall. We'll still make mistakes. We'll continue to still fall short. It doesn't undo what God has done. It can't undo what God has done. So it is this knowledge and knowing it and saying it again and again to yourself, even when your reality does not look like it. When you find yourself being so hungry like you used to be angry before you were saved, and you are wondering, my salvation should have dealt with this anger, but I'm still very hungry. And you are in the midst of that anger, reminding yourself, I am Joseph Kolawole Ola, the righteousness of God. This is not me being angry. This part of me is dead. Is that continuous? I know it doesn't sound reasonable. It doesn't sound logical. But there is nothing logical about Hebrews 4:15-16. We have a high priest who is not touched by the feelings of our infirmity. So therefore, you've just finished messing up. But therefore, come boldly to the throne of grace. How do you come boldly when you've just finished doing something that you know you shouldn't do? But it's telling you that the priest, Jesus Christ, because he also had, at one point in time, he had this flesh and blood. He tasted it. It's not just God that is spirit. We know God is spirit, John 4:24, but he took on flesh. He knows what it is like for us to find it difficult to resist whatever it is that the flesh is asking for. Fall into sin, as it were, because he didn't have the nature that is controlling that flesh as we do. He was not born the way we were born. He was born by immaculate conception. But even then, he understands. And Bible is saying, because you have a high priest that understands, you come. And don't just come boldly. Yes, you've messed up, but still come like Joshua will come to me when he has done something wrong and we've scolded him. If you correct Joshua and he's crying, it is the person that he offends that he wants to pet him. If it's his mom that shouts on him and I say I want to carry him, he doesn't want me to carry him. He wants his mom, whom he offended, to be the one to carry him. That's his innocent outlook to life, which is not logical or reasonable. Someone has just done something bad to you. You should run away from the person and run to another person. But he's going back to that same person as though to say, you are the only one that can help. You are the one that has the answer to this problem. So fix it. It's the same mechanism. It's the same process. You've messed up, go back to God. And don't go listening to that voice in your head telling you, you knew you were going to do it. So why are you disturbing God? God has no business in this matter. Just go and face it. You're a bad person. No. The me that God saved is dead to sin. Is dead to sin. Shall we continue in sin and say grace to abound? God forbid. In other words, it's actually impossible. Why? Because we who are dead to sin, how can we continue daring? That's what Paul basically is saying in Romans 6:1-2. That you can't sin. So why are you disturbing God? Why are you even thinking that line of thoughts? So this is not about I sin more, I receive more of his grace. It's a faulty mindset. The point is, when I sin, then I want to deal with it as the fact that that part of me is dead. I need to report that expression to the only one that has the answer. The one that saved my spirit is the only one that can save my soul and my body. I can't do anything about them. He's the author and the finisher of our faith. He's the one that saved one part, is the one that will save all the parts. But the question of the soul, that is going to take the rest of our lives, and it's going to take your partnership with him. Yes, he's the one that is able to save it, but we need to submit to the disciplines. So how well are you studying God's word? How well are you being sincere in your work with God? How sincere are you when you talk to God about the things that you are going through? So those are the kind of areas where we then begin to see differences in the rates of our transformations. All of us that is saved, we are saved. But the rate to which we will show our saved selves is different. And it's not because God is being partial. It's partly because of how often, or to the extent to which we are cooperating with God, submitting to God, to make that transformation evident. So someone that is taking his morning, his daily communion with God, he doesn't have to be in the morning. But you are taking your daily communion with God serious. you look forward to spending time with God, there's every likelihood that your own chances of falling into random sins would be lesser than someone that is not taking care of his spiritual life and just living. I believe if I fall into sin, I'll go to God, I'll say I'm sorry and all is well. Yes, all is well. But when you get to heaven, you discover that there are levels. You discover that some people will be rewarded for what they've done and others would suffer loss. So I believe I've said too much. But yeah, that's basically the reasoning behind it. I just wanted us to get back to that passage and see the answer to that question, the way Paul answered it, to see that we are not taking the grace of God for granted. You shouldn't. The motive is what matters, like Anu is saying, but a sincerely saved person, that wouldn't be their motive. I hope that helps. I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, that was so
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
That was so nice. Thank you, sir.